You need to let me make a B-roll. There is a tree and everything. You're going to YouTube. Hey guys, what's up? How you doing today? Welcome back. It's your guy Igor here today. I want to talk to you about top reasons why I left Ukraine. Why I left the Ukraine. Right now, if you've been watching this channel for a while, you probably know I got my Canadian citizenship. I want to thank you all for congratulations and everything, guys. I'm now a Canadian citizen. But I want to tell you this video a little bit about my dark, I would say, past, where I lived in Ukraine. I'll tell you a little bit about the country, and I'll tell you the reasons why I decided to immigrate to Canada, why I decided to move here and not to stay there. First of all, let me tell you a little bit about Ukraine. It's a big country. It's probably size of France. It's a big European country that's geographically situated in the center of Europe, even though politically it's considered to be Eastern Europe. But there is also a sad truth about that country, is that it's one of the most poor countries in Europe, according to the GDP in 2019, and the level of Moldova, Albania and Kosovo. I cannot imagine Ukraine went down to that range of the countries that are so poor. And it's like, right now I believe it's like second or first, and the poverty level in Europe is just crazy, guys. Ukraine is famous around the world, especially in Canada, for a really, big Ukrainian community, traditions, culture, hardworking people, and very beautiful ladies. That's the most things that we know about Ukraine, and tons of pierogies, if you know what I mean. Ukrainians are awesome people, guys, and you'll be fascinated by visiting that country. Even though right now, as of today, it's not the best country to visit. It's gone worse than when I left, due to war with Russia, Russian occupants, military intrusion, Crimea, when they took away the Crimea, that's still considered to be Ukraine, giving away Russian passports to people. Lots of Russia-Ukrainian conflict, and in fact, I believe that war influenced Ukraine even worse economically, because it's not as strong in GDP as Russia, doesn't have as many natural resources as that, enormous behemoth, like a huge country in the world, fourth biggest country, trying to dominate such a small country size-wise. First reason why I left Ukraine is corrupt government. Government in Ukraine is another story. I'm talking about chinovniki, government officials, all those guys who go there through election campaign for one purpose: to rob the budget. They literally steal the money from the budget. They take away the taxes that taxpayers are paying, and they're not paying themselves in wages. There are many schemes that they use, such as buying their own starting their own companies, giving huge contracts for their own companies, bidding on their own stuff by themselves. Basically, in other words, all I'm saying is, what they do is, they take the money that taxpayers, Ukrainians that live and work in Ukraine pay, and they rob the people, the country, of that money, and they get enormously rich real fast. But what happens in the end? The money allocated, for example, I'm in Canada right now, but to build this road, who cares about the quality? The road, let's build the road for half a price. It's going to get broken next 3 months. Who cares? The government official is just going to make sure that they spend double the money for 1/3 of the work, and the rest goes in bribery, corruption, and it's a pity to speak about that. I'm a little bit ashamed of this, of what's happening in Ukraine and has been happening, and that's one of the reasons why I left. Well, I think it's my number one reason, because it doesn't give you much opportunities as an individual, or anything for that matter, economical growth, nothing, because all the money that you are paying as a taxpayer, they go to the pockets of government officials who just rob the people of their money. And that's exactly why the country is so poor right now. Second reason is there are no opportunities for the poor people, for the normal people, because normal people are poor. By normal I mean those people who do not have extraordinary connections, that do not know anyone in power, those guys who were just born, brought up in Ukraine and had a normal working class parents, went to a normal school, university, those kind of guys. So unless you have tons of money that you can get somewhere, or unless you have some extraordinary connections, there are no opportunities really for you in Ukraine to grow as a professional. It's really challenging unless you have some extraordinary entrepreneurship skills and you can start your business. Otherwise, it's really difficult. There is not much you can do about it. Third reason, guys, is corrupt healthcare and education. No, don't get me wrong, it's free in Ukraine. The healthcare is free, supposedly free, but in reality it's not free. In reality, if you want to get something free, if you want to lose your arm or leg, then of course you can go for that free healthcare that we have in Ukraine. But in reality, you have to pay to get something. Even though healthcare is considered to be free, but the education is corrupt and the healthcare doesn't provide you much medicines. So you end up buying your own medicine. And that too, there is like a cultural thing to give money to a doctor. So the doctors are corrupt. And the reason is you want to get yourself a good doctor, let's say if you want to do a surgery. Because there is a higher chance that a graduate student who studied for their education, didn't actually study, but was one of those guys who is rich and was able to pass the exams by corrupt ways. And then that person who doesn't have enough experience, education, is going to perform a surgery on you. Can you imagine that? I mean, do you want someone uneducated and unexperienced to do such a thing, like mess with your body? Well, the thing is, those people, they get experience. They learn through their experience by working there, by practicing this free medicine. But if you want to get some real doctor, a doctor who has a reputation, a doctor who is supposedly working for the government, well, you have to pay someone to get that doctor. And if you want yourself to have some good medicines, not the ones that are provided by the government, the cheap ones, not good ones, you want to have proper ones. So you have to buy those ones as well. Healthcare in Ukraine is just ridiculous. It's not free. It's just meant to be free. But you don't want that kind of free healthcare. And that's one of the reasons why I left that country. In Canada, where I'm right now, healthcare is amazing, and the doctors, they legitimately passed everything. You can trust these doctors because they had the education and they have the experience before they can get the surgeon knife and start cutting people, what I'm talking about. Reason number 4, guys, would be bandits, gopniks, and police. You know what I'm talking about. If you watched, some famous YouTubers like PewDiePie and other guys who like to make, fun of gopniks sitting around and, behaving themselves rudely and, trying to like a fashion trend on the West here, gopnik. Well, gopniks is basically a lower level criminals. Thugs. They're not the big criminals. Most of the time they don't have any guns or anything. But I'll tell you this about gopniks. They rob people. They mug people. They take away your stuff. In fact, when I was living in Ukraine as a kid, kids get robbed. I got mugged about 3 times, and one time I even had to take a person to court for robbing me because that gopnik was smart enough to, leave a trace. The police was not good enough. Police in Ukraine is not good, okay? They couldn't find the guy. I found him myself. I found the guy. And I took him to court for stealing my cell phone, for, snatching it out of my hand and running away. And you will be laughing, you're taking a person for a cell phone. Well, when you're making as much money a month as that, like even your phone is more expensive than what you're making in a month, then you're definitely going to take a person to court. It's same as, for example, in Canada, let's say you make $3,000 a month, right? And you got a $3,000 item or $4,000 item, and someone snatches your, your MacBook Pro and takes off. Don't you going to go after that person? So did I. bandits, gopniks, lots of people get away from everything, and police who is covering them. Because police is corrupt, they get a share. And it's just ridiculous how bad it is. Moreover, that police is even not qualified. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know the laws. They don't know their responsibilities. So if you're trying to go to police there, it's like, it's like gopniks in the uniform most of the time. Number 5, guys, is low income and poverty. Yes, you may know Ukraine is one of the poorest countries in Europe, and everyone is basically making so less money. I mean, from that money that you're making in Ukraine, maybe $300 a month, $400 if you're lucky. If you're lucky, $600 a month if you're really lucky. But overall, in average, people are barely making anything. So affordability, like buying a camera that I'm recording this video on, would not be possible. This is like $1,000 camera. Trying is probably like I have to work and not eat anything in Ukraine probably for 3 to 4 months to get it. It's not possible, and that's still before taxes. Poverty and inability to afford anything is no opportunities if you are just an average person like most of the Ukrainians are. Number 6, guys, Мажоры. Мажоры is another reason you might not like that country. What it is, it's a word to identify young people that have really rich parents. Well, we have a bunch of those in Ukraine. Those guys can get away with problems, they can get away with crimes, they can get away with anything. They don't need to go to universities. Those guys who have enough connections, they get huge government positions without doing education properly, bribing their way through to the top of the government just because their daddy or mommy is a business person or a mayor or someone, some person working in the government. And those people, they can get away, they can even hit someone with the car. They might be there, where police is there, getting arrested, and the next day you see them walking out, and the person who got hit by a car getting charged just because they have those connections. And it's just disgusting, guys, when you see those young people. They have no education, brains or whatsoever, but they behave themselves like an upper class, higher caste of the society. They disrespect everybody else just because of their social class and their monetary value in their pockets. The respect they gain between each other is by the types of cars you drive, the cost of your car. I mean, you can be probably a lower caste of Мажоры, if like a caste system. If you have a $20,000 car, you get up the caste system if it's $60,000. But if you're over 100K and that's your daddy's car that you're driving, then you're pretty much successful Major, and you can be any door, and all the opportunities are open for you, but not for everybody else. And that kind of is a sad point, and they're also a target for gold diggers. You know gold diggers? Oh, we all know them. Guys, reason number 7 why I left Ukraine is the value of passport. Ukrainian passport is more valuable than lots of countries, but at the same time, it doesn't give you that free access like lots of Western countries do. Like if you want to travel to some other countries, there is a big chance that your visa is going to get rejected. One reason is that Ukraine is so poor that there is a chance that you as Ukrainian are going to stay in one of those countries and work there illegally for cash or whatnot. So they treat you with really extra caution to make sure that you have enough money, and basically lots of restrictions for Ukrainians to travel around the world. Right now they finally got this biometrical passport, and you can go to any of the European Union countries, even though it's a little bit strange for me and a little bit, I believe, giving away your fingerprints is like, for me, I don't mind it, but at the same time I feel like it's a kind of violation of privacy. Even if you haven't done anything wrong and not intending to do anything wrong, giving away your fingerprints and just having it in database on record, it's kind of, I don't feel good about it. I feel like they're assuming that you might do something bad, and yeah, I just think that's kind of a little bit inhumane, especially for those people who didn't do anything wrong. Another reason is, guys, cost of living. Now, Ukraine, I said, it's one of the poorest countries, but what Western people don't really get, in the Western world, living here in Canada, I feel that people don't understand one thing, is that not only the currency is cheaper, and, things are cheaper in Ukraine. Yeah, if you come in here into Ukraine with US dollars, you're fine. But if you are born and you're living in Ukraine and you are making your living in Ukraine, the cost of living is ridiculously high. According to what you make. It's not like you make less but everything is way cheaper. It's only partially true. I'll tell you this, in Ukraine I had a car that I couldn't afford driving. Think about it, listen carefully. You have a car, but you cannot afford taking it to work. I had a car where really, just because I was taking my car to work and from work, kilometers versus prices for gas, because gas prices are higher in Ukraine than, for example, even probably in the US, you are taking, whatever you made throughout the day, half of it, or maybe entirely, but at least half of it, goes away for the gas. Just think about it. Let's say in Canada or US you're working, you make $200 a day. What if I tell you spend for gas $125 in a day? How would that make you feel? That's approximately the cost of living in Ukraine. It's better to take the public transport, but that also keeps on going up. So whatever you're making, you are spending, and you can barely afford to survive. That's the truth about Ukraine. And if you want to buy something good, like something something that you really want, let's say you want the best Samsung right now or iPhone, you can just forget about it, unless you are having a really good job or you're willing to take a credit line for a cell phone that you might barely afford paying. Then, and the interest there too, like if you buy a car, the car interests are like 20% per annum. Just think about it, 20% per annum interest for a car. That's ridiculous. By the time you pay off the car, you buy 2 cars for the dealership, for the banking institution. And that's how bad it is. It is, without exaggeration, that's how dumb it was there. On the expenses side, you can barely afford anything. And that's one of the reasons to get out of there, I guess. Next reason, guys, would be the people. I know you might start commenting something right now, but I'll tell you something about people in Ukraine. There is tons of people who do not take pride about taking care of the city, like taking care of the sidewalks, not littering anywhere, not destroying public property. The thing is, because of communism, because of the past that was there in Soviet Union, where everything belonged to the people, where nothing belonged to the people, everything belonged to the government. That's how everything was there. Just think about it. Everything belongs to the government and you're barely making anything, so you start kind of, when you're sitting on a bench, like look at this bench, I'm sitting on a bench, it's a beautiful bench. Well, I got a felt pen, let's start writing some stuff. You got a knife, let's start scratching some stuff. You know what, you got a hammer? Let's just hammer the hell out of it, this thing, let's bend it over. Just, let's just get drunk and flip this bench over, rip it off the ground, break it apart. And while we are here at night, like, who's going to care? It's a public property, right? Well, I think this one is actually private property here in Canada right now where I'm sitting. But public property, or I don't know if it's not private or not, I don't know, and I don't care, honestly. What I do know is that people here take pride of the property, of their streets, of their city. They take ownership of things here because that's how people are raised here. That's how they behave. Like, this is my street, that's my house on the street, this is my city, and this is my country, and I'm proud to be, part of this country, so I have to take care of the country, of the street, of the city, of the province, of the neighborhood, of my house, the apartment building where I live. And it doesn't matter that I have neighbors living there, I don't want to screw something up for them just so they don't feel comfortable. So that's what I'm talking about. That's taking ownership and pride of the place where you live. And that's something that I felt lots of people are lacking in Ukraine by destroying some beautiful new things that the city has just built for the people, going and scratching it, banging it, breaking it for no reason, stealing it. Like, you see a bench like this, oh, it might look nice in my backyard. start unscrewing it and take it on the truck and take it to a backyard. Are you kidding me? Why would you do that? And that's something that I really hated about those people who did that. Like, why would you do that? But why would you do that anyways? I don't know. And final reason, guys, is mentality of the people. I can tell you something. First of all, if you go to Ukraine, you don't find much diversity. You don't find much diversity over different cultures, different races. You don't find, there is also another mentality that Ukrainians do have, and I feel it's a big one, like love of failure. For example, you have tons of friends, right? You're a good friend of those guys, and all of a sudden something bad happened to you. You get so much of support from your friends and everything. Everyone is caring for you. Everyone spends time talking to you, calming you down and everything. And that's good part in Ukraine. But there is one negative part. Let's say you succeeded, okay? And then everyone gets angry at you. When you succeed, people really start getting upset. Faces change and this kind of things. It's kind of really weird Slavic mentality that kind of annoyed me, and I don't think kind of was fitting into my mentality, because I personally think if a person succeeds, that's the good thing. And it's not a good thing to support a person when the person is in need of support, but at the same time not supporting the person when the person is succeeding. That's kind of my more personal observation there and mentality. Also, it's really difficult to be different in Ukraine. For example, you have different religious views, you have different mindset, you have a different orientation, you have different, you're different from anybody else. It's really difficult for people to accept the differences, and sometimes things get hostile just because you don't fit into society. Everyone tries to fit you into some point of the society, but if you don't fit, if you're different, it means basically lots of times they're going to stereotype you as no good. Guys, I actually want to tell you something honestly here. I was recently thinking of going to Ukraine to visit, to take my wife there, to show around, and then I kind of felt a little bit sad. It's so expensive to buy the tickets to go to Ukraine. Instead, for a portion of that price, I can visit so many other countries. I'm planning to go to Dominican Republic, I can go to Mexico, I can go to so many South American countries. And to be honest with you guys, after visiting Machu Picchu, after going to different countries, different places, after going to Rocky Mountains here in Alberta, I want to say that I came to a conclusion that probably the money I was going to spend to go to visit Ukraine is only worth it because to see my parents, and therefore I decided it's going to be way easier to bring them here to Canada. So instead of me going to Ukraine, you can go to Germany, you can go to Czech Republic, you can go to Prague and visit Italy, go to Rome, Norway, Sweden, those beautiful places. You can go England after all. There are so many countries in Europe that I really want to visit, and that's going to cost me about the same price as going to Ukraine. And that's where I felt bad about it. I started really trying to evaluate what is there to see in Ukraine. A couple of castles, historical places in the western Ukraine, not much in the eastern except the war zone with Russia and their military. Also, for example, you can go there and visit Kiev, capital city of Ukraine. It's a really beautiful place, nice place to stay. Maybe you can visit that place, and it's going to be like a few days visit to go around, travel the city, see historical places. Pretty interesting. But hey, for the amount of money that I could take my wife to, I'm sad to say that, but I would rather take my wife to some other country. Because really, instead of getting into trouble and risking my life by going to eastern Ukraine, for example, there's one place where I would want to take my wife and I would personally want to visit, is Chernobyl. I would really like to go to Pripyat and go for an excursion there. It's really interesting for me, but it's going to be really difficult to convince my wife to go to a no-go zone, radiation zone, nuclear explosion zone. I'm excited. I would go there. And I don't think my wife is going to want to go there. That's the only thing I could figure out of like insane attraction. in Ukraine. This video is a little bit pessimistic, guys, and I'm a little bit sad, kind of going through a sad situation talking about Ukraine like that. I have to be realistic. I've been patriotic to Ukraine. I've been supporting that country for so long, and I always thought really good things. But really, if you look at it in a value perspective, even going to Crimea, you can go to Southern America, nice white sand beaches there, palm trees, beautiful. The amount of value that you get in Cuba for the dollar span is way higher than you will get in Crimea. So too sad that Russia wanted to take it so badly. Now nobody wants to go there anyways. I hope, I'm going to end this sad video. I don't feel good talking about Ukraine in this negative ways. I still want to say that Ukrainian food is awesome. The people are really hardworking, really honest people, really nice people. Ladies are one of the world's most beautiful. So if you're planning to, if you want to get married and you want to have a really caring wife who's going to take care of yourself, who's going to take care of you, really care for you. I mean real stuff, not like some things that you can see out west, but there's a little bit of more traditional stuff left in Ukraine. So of course, to find a good spouse, a loyal partner, I would always recommend Ukraine, because Ukrainian women are the finest people, hardworking, and also really nice. Lots of people right now live in Ukraine, so very soon all the professional, most talented people will leave the country, and that's going to be even more sad. But who am I to say I'm one of those people who left the country? Alright guys, I want to say finally that I don't like being a barrier of the bad news and talking negative about the country where I was born and everything. But really, sometimes you just have to take off your pink glasses and look at the things as they are and call the things the way they are. And I know this video might cause lots of negative comments, and I know that I'm more pessimistic. There are so many people who are going to leave comments about some good things about Ukraine, and of course the country has beautiful history, lots of interesting things, Cossacks, Gapak, Vyshivanki, and lots of really nice cultural stuff. And Ukrainian heritage is all around the world, and one of the best workers. You have a Ukrainian at your workplace, and leave a comment, because I want to know how they are working. I bet you they're one of the hardest working in your company. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to smash the like button. This video was not an easy one to make, to criticize the country where I was born. I say I criticize it because I just didn't want to make it, I didn't want to make it too positive. I just wanted to say how I think about it, what I feel. It might be different from what other people think. It's just my opinion. Alright guys, leave a comment, show the like, subscribe, click that bell, I don't like to say that, and so you can see as soon as I post. Check out the links in the description of this video, and we'll see you in the next video guys. Have a good one.